If you clicked on this video, you're probably interested in the RGB10MAX3 and you probably have 101 questions about this device. First of all, what's so special about it? Is it any good? Is it worth your money? How's the screen? How are the controls? Is it comfy? Does it fit in my pocket? We're gonna get into all that and more today on Play Retro. Edit man, cue the intro.
Play Retro.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Javi. And today we're gonna be taking a look at the latest and greatest out of Team Powkiddy. We have the RGB10MAX3. And really quick, I do wanna thank my good friends over at LITNXT for making this video possible. They did provide this unit for a fair and unbiased review. As always, all opinions are my own. They have not seen this video beforehand and no money was exchanged or anything like that. So with that out of the way, let's just get straight into the review, starting with my first impressions. When I first picked this up, I was kind of shocked at how kind of compact it is. Like for a bigger widescreen device, it is fairly compact. Like it feels almost like the size of PSP. It's really nice. The next thing I noticed was just the attention to detail here. Like this does feel like a premium Powkiddy device. Like everything from the face buttons, the button placement, you know, just the shape of it, right? Just felt so nice. The screen is beautiful. It seems like Powkiddy seen the successes of the RGB30 and the X55 and they've married them together and they had a baby, and that baby is the RGB10MAX3. It's like they took the widescreen, the stacked shoulder buttons, the down firing speakers, and just the overall ergonomics and comfiness of the X55, and they've put it together with the RGB30. So first of all, it has like that same kind of like flat profile, right? It stands up on its own just like the RGB30, and they've also taken just the overall button configuration. So if I hide the speaker holes right here, right, and I put this right here, look at this, it's basically a one-to-one copy of the control layout. You have your start and select up top, it's D-pad centric along with these rainbow action buttons, and then you have these recessed joysticks, right? So I feel like they took the best of those two products and they put them together into one package. That's basically what the RGB10MAX3 is. It's a comfy hybrid medium between the RGB30 and the X55. And I actually really like this device. Now as far as pricing is concerned, this device ranges anywhere from $90 all the way to $110 depending where you get it. Our friends over at LITNXT actually sell this device too, and they sell it for $99.99 with free shipping. But that is the 16 gigabyte model. The one in front of me is actually the 128 gigabyte model, and that goes for $119.99. So if you want this like fully loaded, it's about 120 bucks. Unfortunately, they only have the yellow and the transparent blue. So those are the only color options you do have on their site. So maybe later when Powkiddy releases the other colors, they'll have those colors as well. So let me give you a quick tour of this device. So over on this side, we have a select button, you have your D-pad, you have your joystick. This is a Nintendo style recessed joystick. It does have L3 and R3 functionality. Beautiful screen, 5 inches in the middle. You have your start, you have your ABXY, and you have your right joystick. You also have your LED light indicator. This is very nice. Over on the top, we do have L1, L2. We do have our volume, which is inverted. We got a mini HDMI port, and we do have our reset button and power button. Over on this side, we do have our R1 and R2. Then over on the bottom, we do have our down firing speakers, left and right. We got our charging port, TFOS, TF game, just 2 SD card slots. You got your 3.5mm headphone jack right in the dead center, and you got an OTG port on this side. You gotta really appreciate the symmetry here. It's just so beautiful to look at. You got just so clean. And then over on this side, same thing, just great symmetry overall on the entire device. Even like here, if you split it down the side, oh my God, beautiful. Over on the right side, we have nothing. On the back, it's pretty clean. We just have the sticker in here. See a little bit of information about the battery and stuff like that. Then over on the left side, we have nothing. So LITNXT has kindly sent over a 16 gigabyte for the OS and a 128 gigabyte for the games. That's what's inside this console. I'm gonna go ahead and overlay the specs on screen. You need a little bit of time to read the specs. Just go ahead and pause the video. So now that I've shown you where everything is, let's move into some size comparisons. Let's start with its biggest competitors, right? TrimUI Smart Pro. Very, very comparable in size, almost about the same. You can see right here. We have the Powkiddy X55, RGB30. Here we have the RGB10MAX3 Pro. Very confusing. Some fan favorites. We have the Miu Mini Plus. Then we have our RG3566H. And finally, we're just gonna do two of my favorite devices of all time. We have the R36S and the RG35XX Plus. So when I first turned it on, I was kind of blown away at just the games list in general. Like normally I don't really care for the games list in here, but look, this is like super clean. There's no numbers. Everything's in alphabetical order. Beautiful 3-image mix on basically every single game. It's just ultra clean, no copies, nothing like that. Super organized. Some of the other catalogs in here, look at this. It's just like perfect. I've never seen a games list this clean on a device. And even some of the bigger systems that have a more limited game selection because the games are so big, the games list is very, very good. Like a lot of these games would be in my own games list. And I'm just like surprised at the game selection. It is very, very, very good. Now, I normally don't care for, you know, like the games that come on the stock SD cards because I normally replace them with my own games. But this is a pretty good collection. And it reminds me of my own collection. So for people who want a plug and play experience, this is really good. Like the games list is solid. The game selection is solid. Look, even PlayStation Portable, Assassin's Creed, you got some Ben 10, Castlevania, you got Dragon Ball Z, Shin Budokais, both God of Wars are in here, Gran Turismo, you got some GTAs in here, both Mega Mans. The selection is excellent, absolutely excellent. You got the Spider-Mans. It's like, wow. They really curated this list to be really like some of the best games. Now, as far as performance is concerned, as much as I'd love this thing to be able to play the entire library of PSP, this thing cannot. You can basically expect perfect emulation up to PS1. And I know I sound like a broken record, but with the SOC this thing is rocking, the RK3566, this thing's only capable of doing perfect emulation up to PS1. And I want to make that a big note because I know a lot of people, when they see a bigger device with something like this that looks like it can play PSP, do not be mistaken. Do not buy this specifically for PSP because you're going to be disappointed. Although there are some games in this library that will run pretty well. Some of them, like the Shin Budokai games, run really, really great. But don't be mistaken. God of War is not going to run well. You know, and some even Grand Theft Auto, it's going to be choppy here and there on this processor. So just something I wanted to mention for the people that are looking for a PSP emulator. This is not it. This is definitely not it. This is basically more of the same, but in a widescreen format. And a lot of systems actually benefit from this format, right? So a huge benefit of a widescreen device is the fact that you can see both screens for DS emulation. So if you're a person you love DS, this may be a good device for you. So as you can see, I can switch between screen 1 and 2, but I can see both screens pretty well on one display. So here I have just one screen. And when I'm ready, I can switch between them and just show both screens at the same time. I'll use my little bool. I need to see what's going on bottom screen. I can switch the bottom screen. But then when I'm ready to go back, I can just switch back really quickly. And there we go. Back to the big screen. Like, oh no, I need to see the thing. There you go, you can see them side by side. It does definitely take some getting used to, like switching between screens. But once you got it down, it's pretty easy. This is pretty enjoyable. Genesis looks absolutely amazing in widescreen. This is Streets of Rage 2. Check this out. Amazing. And this little stretch here is really not too bad. So here we have PlayStation. PlayStation also looks really, really good in widescreen. Mario World for the SNES, and this system was originally an 8x7. You can actually tell the stretch here is a little bit more than on, say, Genesis, right? But actually, I don't mind it. I think it looks good. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Would you guys play like this, or would a stretch like this bother you? And now Game Boy Color. Now this is a system that has a very significant stretch that is very visible. So yeah, something like this is a little bit too much stretch for my taste, but I know there's gonna be people out there that don't mind this. For the people like myself that don't enjoy this stretch, you can always put it back to a more normal aspect ratio. Like look at this dude. This guy's like extra wide. I mean, normally he's a little bit wide, but now he's like super wide. And then that way the game looks a lot better. But you will have black bars on the side, and this is something that a lot of people don't like. But it is something that you'll have to deal with a widescreen device like this. However, the game area is still fairly large. There's a pretty good amount of space here. But yeah, this isn't too bad at all. So I did want to talk about just my experience using these controls and stuff and how I feel about them. So first of all, I want to draw your attention to the D-pad. It is a weak point of this device. It's your typical Powkiddy D-pad. It's basically the same one that's on the RGB30. If you know this D-pad and you're familiar with the problems this D-pad has, how like the sensitivity of it, and it's just not a great D-pad. It's the same story here. It's basically exact same D-pad. And even when you're like scrolling through the menu like this, like you might be going down the list, you might accidentally switch to a different page. Like just like I was on Game Boy Advance and now it's in Sega Game Gear, kind of by accident. So basically what this translates to is sometimes you're gonna get false diagonals like what just happened there in game, and that's extremely annoying. So the D-pad is not very accurate. It's kind of sensitive. I mean, it's serviceable. It's like some games you're probably not gonna notice it, but then other games like very precision based kind of platforming games, you're probably not gonna love this D-pad. And that's where the joystick comes in, right? Like I've kind of been using the joystick a little bit more for some of the other games. Powkiddy, they need to go back to the drawing board with their D-pads because the D-pads are not great. And aside from that, I also wanted to draw your attention to these R1 and L1 buttons, these bumpers. And I found that while I was playing PSP, now by default, L and R is mapped to R1 and L1, right? And I was playing PSP like this, and I just found it kind of annoying. Just the way these feel and kind of the clackiness they have, like this feeling. I didn't really love that. So for PSP, I just decided to remap it to R2 and L2, and it's a much better experience. But yeah, aside from that, everything else is great. I think the position of the buttons is great. Action buttons are great. Joysticks are great. They're nice and recessed. They have good range of motion. And I've probably been using the joystick more than the actual D-pad on this device, just because I don't love the feeling of this D-pad here. Okay, so let's sum this up, my closing thoughts on how I feel about the RGB10MAX3. First of all, it has a god-awful name. Powkiddy, if you're listening, please stop naming your devices how you're naming them. Second, I think it's one of Powkiddy's best devices. The package here is pretty good. The screen's damn near amazing. The software here is good. The performance is great. You know, it can't do everything, but again, expect perfect emulation up to PS1. I love that it's so comfy and it's kind of compact. It does remind me of a PSP, just the form factor of it and all. It's definitely not a perfect device. It is flawed. For example, it does have this D-pad, which I don't love. I don't love this D-pad. And you know, maybe this is a bit nitpicky, but you know, the shoulder buttons here, they're a little bit thin. I wish they would have made them a little bit thicker, but I mean, I guess they didn't really have an option with this. But yeah, everything else here is amazing. The symmetry, the attention to detail here, just look like, even just like stuff like this. The fact that it stands up on its own, I love that. It's got HDMI, it's got Wi-Fi, it's got Bluetooth, it's got all those things. And yeah, the price isn't too bad either. So in conclusion, there's a lot to love here about the RGB10MAX3. You know, it's got a beautiful screen. It's got great controls for the most part. You know, you got the stacked shoulder buttons, you know, everything's symmetrical, joysticks are nice. The device feels premium. There's been a lot of attention to detail. When you look at the device, when you feel the device in your hands, you can tell there's been a lot of effort put into getting this thing feeling good in your hands. It's got enough power under the hood to get perfect emulation up to PS1, and that's a lot of systems. It's got all the connectivity you could possibly want. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, HDMI out, all those things. And it also has the software to back it up. So you're not going to be using some janky firmware, stock firmware. This is JELOS. It's a very good build. It has a lot of features. It's basically got everything you want. It looks good. It turns on great. It has no issues. It's just a good package. You pair that with a pretty good battery life and a pretty good price tag, and I think you have the formula for a winning device. So who do I think this device is for? Anybody looking for a good widescreen experience, right? If you're a person, you don't mind a little bit of stretching. You know, Genesis looks amazing. SNES is not too bad. You know, you could take advantage of having both screens on DS. PSP looks great. PlayStation 1 looks great. You know, extra screen real estate is never a bad thing. And then of course, you can always do letterboxing if the stretching is a little bit too much. And this is a great handheld nonetheless. And it's just a great handheld, period. Especially for somebody that appreciates a bigger screen. Like something like this, a 5-inch, beautiful IPS screen. You're gonna love the RGB10MAX3. And with that, that's gonna bring us to the end of this review. I do want to thank LITNXT once again for providing me the opportunity to review this handheld. You know, if you guys want to pick this one up, you can get the yellow and the blue on their website, just like this, exact same build. But yeah, if you like this sort of content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You know, it helps the channel grow, and not only that, but it helps this video get out to more people. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. You know, were you gonna pick one of these up? What do you think about it? Do you like widescreen content? Let me know in the comment section below. Anyway, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. My name is Javi, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Ooh.